Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 142 and today we're starting things off in TNT land. Once again, my favourite place on the Hermitcraft server at this point in time. For those of you who missed the previous episode of Hermitcraft, we have got this place linked up to my nether portal with this rather lovely looking TNT block floating out in the ocean. And I love it. I think this place is so good. I know I keep talking about it, and I know I keep banging on about how much I like this island, but this is just one of those projects that came up spontaneously, and I'm so glad that it did, because it has ended up being so much better than I expected. Where on earth is this guy spawned from? I've lit this entire place. Where has he come from? I mean, I know about those guys, but they can't get out, surely. Ah, there we go. So we have got some spots down at the bottom here, which have got a light level all the way down to 4. So we have got some serious spawnableness here. And also, by the sounds of things, we also have a handful of blocks behind all of the chests that are very spawnable. But that doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. I think those guys are stuck back there. Also, as a complete side note, how many more episodes do I have to not have a mustache? I'm kind of missing my mustache at this point in time. It would be nice to get that one back. Anyway, my plan for today's Hermitcraft episode is really quite exciting. As you guys know, I absolutely love piston houses in Minecraft. I love constructing piston houses, and I love building them in the redstone videos, but for some bizarre reason, I have never, ever built a piston house in survival Minecraft. That's totally ridiculous. So we're going to be changing that today, and we're going to be converting one of these houses, probably this one because it's bigger, into a piston house. Whoa, there's still not much room to play with here. So the first thing that we have to do in this episode is we're going to fill my redstone box up to the brim. I want to get all the stacks of repeaters, comparators, everything, so that I'm fully prepared for today's redstone project. And I don't actually know, do I have any spare redstone supplies? I think I have a handful, but nothing too serious. This is a pretty solid start. So we have got tons upon tons of stuff. That is going to be more than enough to do, hopefully, at least all of the redstone contraptions that I want to do in today's episode. But also, I've just popped inside this place and I've given it a flooring and also a roof as well. So this gives us a rough idea of how much space we're working with. So I'm thinking downstairs we'll have a kind of living room and maybe a kitchen off in this area, and then we can work out what we're going to do with the upstairs. So let's start things off with something really simple. Here we have a little TV set, and here we have our sofa. We need this TV set to be activatable. So we're going to set up a button with a T flip-flop somewhere underneath here. In fact, you know what? I think we're going to clear out a whole bunch of space under here because A, we need tons of room for redstone, but B, I actually want to build like a hidden basement type thing. That seems like a good way to get more space and also make this place cooler. Well, that was simple enough. Hit the button. TV is on. And we hit the button and the TV turns off. Right, I'm going to put a casing on this thing, and I think I should also create some speakers on the walls, maybe using item frames, and then that will be that area done. And to be honest, we don't really have much space to actually add much extra. Okay, here's the deal. We're going to create a hidden staircase that drops down underneath here, and I'm trying to think in terms of hidden staircase designs. Obviously, we've got the simple one. I would like it to actually have stairs in it, but I feel like, once again, space. Look, we have so little space. We've got the hillside here. This is crazy. Okay, so we're going to have a fairly simple design here. That will drop us through, and then we'll have our basement area underneath here, and this can be our secret Redstone Laboratory. We've had one every single Hermitcraft season, so it'd be wrong of us not to have one in Hermitcraft Season 5. And I have said it before, and I will say it again. This design that I created way back in the day for the hidden staircase is still one of my proudest redstone designs. I cannot believe how small I actually managed to make this thing. It looks like it shouldn't work. Now, obviously, to activate this hidden staircase, we can't just have a random button lying on the ground, because that kind of defeats the object of the staircase being hidden. So I'm thinking redstone torch key, potentially around about here. Either that, or we could have... we do have some item frames. Or maybe we could throw an item on the ground here. Nah, torch keys are always cool. So here goes. If I just chuck in this repeater right here, that should connect up our torch key system to this area here, the T flip-flop, which will then connect into our hidden staircase, and we're going to see if the actual hidden staircase that I've built will work. I'm not 100% certain, but I kind of feel like I've got all of the circuitry in place, so let's see. Yeah, that's not exactly promising right there. I've made a handful of changes, and now I think it should be functioning. So we've got a pulse extender instead of a T flip-flop, because that makes more sense. And if we just place in the redstone torch like that, you can see that the stairs drop down, giving us enough, maybe enough time to get down there, and then they close up behind us, and then we'll have another input underneath inside our laboratory, so obviously people can't follow us down there. Now, in terms of the laboratory itself, I think I'm going to leave that towards the end, because I want to make sure that I leave enough room for all of the redstone contraptions that we're going to have going on up at the top. But now I think I have just about finished doing all of the inputs for underneath. So if we hit this button right here, yeah, that opens up the staircase so that we can actually get out of this thing, and then obviously it will all close up behind us. Okay, that's perfect. Now we need to work on the kitchen. The first thing that I want to make in here is some form of fire-based oven. So I want to be able to activate fire and then have a kind of grill. But boy, oh boy, am I struggling with how on earth I'm actually going to do it. I was thinking, so if we could... it's really difficult. I can't even think how I would start it, because what I wanted to have is fire, and then what could I use as a grill? I guess maybe trapdoors? That could do the trick. And then we could just have some cobblestone walls around the bottom. Have a think about it. Right, I had to do some reorganizing, but this looks awesome! I want one of these in my house. Look at that! It's like the ultimate kitchen. Okay, all we need to do now is we need to make it toggleable. So I'm going to have a button once again. I guess we'll have a little control unit over here. And that can be the button which activates and deactivates this thing. Now, I don't actually know how I'm going to do it. I guess we'll pulse up the pistons on the rising edge, or one of the sides of the button. And then on the other side, we'll pulse up the pistons and then fire the dispensers. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, here goes. So we do that. And we have turned off the fire, and then... Perfect! Okay, that worked first time. Right, I'm going to get some of the details in. I'm going to finish up all the details on this bottom floor, and then we can start moving upstairs. How do we get upstairs? Huh. I hadn't thought of that. This place is now looking a lot more full. We have a lot more going on, but I have been experimenting for the past, I would say, 25 minutes, trying to work out how on earth I'm actually going to do the upstairs area of this place. Now, I was thinking, if we can do something like this, I imagine... That was better than I expected. That was much better than I expected. Okay, how can we extend out that pulse? Maybe run it... So I've just rewired all of the circuitry for our hidden staircase, and I've added in a little extra section down at the bottom here. So that means that now this works with an observer, and this also works. The issue was that we had redstone underneath this observer, and it was actually just above that pulse extender, which meant that every single time that redstone lost some signal strength, it would cause an update through this observer, so it would basically fire this piston a whole ton of times. Not exactly perfect, but there we go. This is how we're going to be getting up into the next level if I was actually good at Minecraft. Now, we definitely have a lot more space to work with up here, so I want to get quite creative. I definitely want to have a bathroom, and then maybe just the rest be a really big bedroom, but we also have all of the space up here that we can use for redstone. So, who knows? You can get quite creative with this one. Now, I've just spent a bunch of time laying out the main layout of what this area is going to be. So we have this kind of pop-up room here, and then we have this corridor. This is probably going to be the bedroom, and then here we're going to have our little bathroom. Now, we don't really have too much space in this area here, but I was thinking if we could create... it's difficult. It is difficult because I want to make a shower, a working shower, so that could potentially go around about here. Maybe if we put in a slab there and then have some glass going around the top there. Then we can have a working shower even. That's probably on the wall. So yeah, we can have blocks in the floor there. And then maybe a working toilet. And a few other bits and bobs over here, and then we can start working out what we want in our bedroom. One thing that I'm really realizing about the process of building a piston house in survival mode compared to building it in creative mode is the amount of time you spend going to and from chests and gathering resources and taking things down that you've built and experimenting with things that don't work. It's exponentially larger than doing it in creative mode, that's for sure. But despite this, I do finally have a working shower system, I think, maybe? Yes! And that's really, really cool. So look, we pop inside here, and then we hit the button, and there we go. The shower kicks in, all of the water is chucked down on us, and there it is. It all switches off. You can see we've got the trapdoors on either side here, which is stopping the water from flowing out, and that's actually quite an elegant looking thing. And all we have to make it work, I'm a little bit scared to break any of the ceiling here, but all we have to make it work is a pulse extender and a little redstone clock up at the top. Aside from that, all of the details in the bathroom are pretty simple. We have a little not a kitchen cabinet, a bathroom cabinet. We have the toilet with toilet paper dispenser, so that chucks that out over there. And then also we have a little sink that we can stand in over here. So that's all good. Oh, and this locking system as well. So the redstone lamp turns on when the toilet is occupied, and it turns off when the door is open. So that's all good. Now it's time to get on to the biggest room in the house, which is going to be the bedroom. And as I say, I have no clue what to do over here. One thing that I really, really want to make, but I'm not 100% certain I am going to be able to make it, is kind of like an automatic wardrobe system. So we will have some areas here, and then I guess we can have some trap chests. We can actually have some chests going all the way across like this, but they need to not be trap chests because otherwise I'm going to power that dropper. But we'll have some chests back here, and then maybe some furnaces and other bits and pieces, and we'll have a door that retracts up into the ceiling at the flick of a lever. Also, I've got some beds over here, but I don't really know what I'm doing with them. So here goes. Let's see if this functions. If I flick this lever here... Yes, there we go. So that is popped up, and that allows us to access the chest. And then we flick the lever again, everything gets pushed down. Now that is pretty cool. You have to admit, that is quite a satisfying thing to watch. Nice. Okay, that's brilliant. Right, let's chuck some chests in there and other bits and pieces, and then we can start on other areas of this room. I really want to make a hidden crafting bench in this corner here, and I want to make it like a shifting pattern type thing. But I can't seem to do it in the space. Space is one of those things, man. When you're building piston houses, you really don't get much of it. So we've had to be a little bit smart here, but we've ended up with something that looks a little bit like this. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's quite cool. It's a light that can swap out for a crafting bench. Oh, we can only use it while the crafting bench is there. So I would say we will swap that out for a lever. I'll quickly go and grab one of those from the chest. But other than that, I mean, I can't really think what else I want in this zone. I think maybe it might be time to head down to the bottom with the Redstone Laboratory. But before we do, I just wanted to add one more little thing, and that is this redstone lamp in the corner, which will switch on as soon as we're able to sleep. So as soon as we're able to sleep in this bed right here, as soon as that sun drops down beneath the horizon just enough to allow us to sleep, we will actually be able to get in the bed and we'll be able to sleep through the night, which I'm actually going to do right now. So there we go. That is everything. You can see the redstone lamp is now turned off because obviously we can't sleep as it is daytime. Right, let's head down underneath the floor and go down into the basement. So here we are down underneath this place, and as you can see, we have quite a bit of redstone going on. This is the staircase. That's all of the redstone for the fire circuitry, and this is all the redstone for well, I guess the staircase itself and also the television. So I think what I might do is I might punch out this area here and kind of go across like this. I don't actually know how big this room is going to be, but I want it to be like an evil lair, maybe even like a testing facility. So you might have to try and find some chickens or animals and drop them in here, and that can be what we're actually testing on. Who knows? I don't know if I want to take that much of a dark turn. Now, I'm not 100% certain if things have actually gotten darker here, but I've come up with an idea for what we're going to be doing with this room, and I personally really, really like it. So if we activate this and head down there, you can see that we have now got a bunch of shelves in this area. I've actually done quite a lot of work, so we cleared out the entire space. I've placed in all of the flooring, I've done all the walls, I've done the ceiling, and I've done all the shelves as well. And I did record 1 or 2 clips, but it was actually recording from my second account thanks to OBS picking that window, which was a little bit strange. But anyway, we are now here and we have got a space to work with. Now the shelves are going to be for storing my heads. You see, if you have a head collection, right? If you've got a 7 head collection, you need that to be kept pretty secret. Okay, you don't want your neighbors knowing that you've got a private head collection. That's not something that your neighbors are going to be particularly happy with, and probably the police and the authorities either. So we're going to keep this quite secret, and we're going to keep it underneath this house right here. So I am going to start grabbing some of these things, and I'm going to start placing them in, and this is going to be my 7 head collection. Now, I actually don't know if we have enough shelving units here. There's a chance that we don't. So there's the magma, we've already got one of the guardian ones, we've got the snowman, we've got the chicken, the salmon can go up there. We've got a lot of these guys. Like, this is a serious quantity. So it turns out we actually have the perfect amount of space. If we just place in these last few heads here, we've actually populated the full room. We have no heads left over. We do have, well, that's a lie actually. We do have a handful of the different coloured horses' heads, but I didn't really want to place those in. But there we go. So that is what we're hiding away at the bottom of this piston house right here. Our full head collection in the evil lab that we have underneath here. Now, obviously, if we do get a few more heads, I mean, I can't imagine we will. I can't think of the heads that we actually have missing here. But if we get to any more, then we can try our best to expand this out and maybe do a little bit of terraforming and manipulating of the other house that's just over there. But for the time being, I am really happy with that. I think this place looks brilliant. So there we go. I think that just about wraps everything up for our piston house. I have to say, this was my first time building a piston house in survival mode, and it might be the last time I do it for a long time, because I mean, it's just, I have to say, this is one of those things, okay? There's a few projects in Minecraft that are much more fun to do in creative mode. Building a piston house is definitely 100% one of them. It is so much more fun doing piston houses in creative mode. So although I'm very happy with this thing, I'm also very happy that it's completed. Anyway, now we have to head off to Scar's base because I've heard that he's actually broken my lovely piston door. So let's take a look at what he's actually managed to do to this thing. I'll be totally honest, I can't find, oh, there is the piston door, so I'll sort that out. But dude, Scar has built some really cool stuff. Look, he's got a space station here. Is this like a floating space station? That is wild. That is absolutely wild. Some seriously cool stuff. And this, I can't tell what buildings have gone up in the time since I was last over here, but this definitely feels different. Definitely feels like a different space. Anyway, yeah, let's pop down into, I've lost it again. Oh, there it is. Let's pop down into this area here. Are they arrows? That's amazing. That is seriously cool. I've never seen that before. So he's made a waterfall out of arrows that never despawn because they're constantly moving. Well, I mean, I never thought I'd be saying this, but Scar, you were a bit of a redstone god there. That's brilliant. I'm fairly certain I found the problem. I think the pistons were just pushed across by the observers. I don't know how he's managed to do that. But I imagine... Ooh, we might have broken more than I was thinking. This, to me... looks wrong. Definitely feels like this redstone line. So we've got redstone running in there, and then it gets to here and then stops. Just completely stops. There's nothing there. And that doesn't look correct to me. Yeah, there it is. How on earth has he broken that? I don't understand. Did water get in? How has that happened? Well, whatever. We've found the problem, so we've got redstone repeaters running into these pistons. That should hopefully fix everything up. And by the way, I just want to make it very clear, that was not me digging at Scar and making him sound silly. I'm genuinely curious as to how that's actually happened, because nothing else seems to be broken around here. So, anyway, it shouldn't take too long at all. And let's go. That's a little bit more like it. And then if we flick this lever... Okay, so the only issue that we have is that we don't actually have enough blocks. If we replace these blocks with some very fetching dirt blocks, then that should do the trick. Okay, so there is the opening. And hopefully... Oh dear, what is going on? So it turns out all of the pistons were pushing just upwards and it was breaking everything going up like that. So now I think... That doesn't look like it fires enough. It's so weird. Yes, finally I've managed to get this thing up and running. There we go, and there it is. Pistons push across, and then they get all pushed back down. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to reconstruct this door. I'm going to leave some dirt blocks in it so that Scar knows that I've been past and that I've now fixed it up. And hopefully, it doesn't break again. I still don't fully understand how it broke the first time. Perfect. Looks great. So there we go. There is the door opening. And once again, there is the door closing. I wonder... Because I don't think you can push a piston up when a cat is sat on it. I know that sounds strange, but I think that might be the case. Maybe that might have broken it. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's now been fixed. So there we go, Scar. Hopefully that works for you. And as I say, hopefully it doesn't break again. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed this episode on the Hermitcraft server. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo. I'm out. I'll see you later.